And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Modern Web. Excited. I feel like it's been a while since we've done a Bay Area Modern Web, but here we are, and we are on the React World Tour. For those of you who don't know about React World Tour, it's a pretty cool thing that we're doing. You can actually go to reactworldtour.com and check out all the fun things that are happening, all the different cities we're going to and everything, and all the different talks we'll be doing. So my name's Tracy. I'm your host both for Modern Web and the meetup, and also I'll be speaking for React World Tour. So yeah, thanks for coming. And today we have Brandon, who created Blitz.js. If you haven't checked out Blitz.js, definitely check it out. He'll tell you a little bit more about it on his talk today. But yeah, check out reactworldtour.com. And, we're always looking for people to speak at our meetups. So if you're interested, hopefully 2022 is a more friendly time for us all to gather. I look forward to doing local meetups again back at Google HQ. But for now, we will still be remote. But yeah, feel free to message me anytime, Tracy at modern-web.org, because I'm always happy to chat or see if we can work you into the schedule. So really quickly, oh, this is funny. Hold on a second. Let me just make my screen better. Can my screen be better? No, it can't. That's lame. Oh, well, there you go. That's all you're going to get. Okay. Would like to thank my company, This.Labs, for always sponsoring and helping host these things. Without my team, would not be able to do as many of the fun things that I get to do. So that's cool. So if you're looking for consulting, definitely hit us up. Let us know. We're always happy to chat. We have a bunch of upcoming events as well. So next week, we actually have GraphQL Contributor Days. That is going to be awesome. There has just been so much that has happened, I feel like, within the past 2 years on, the foundation being formed and, the committees coming together and just all the collaboration within the GraphQL ecosystem. Local companies like PayPal, of course, have just been investing in, GraphQL and the ecosystem. So definitely check that out. It's co-hosted with Hasura. So if you haven't used Hasura yet or heard of it, which I feel like most people have, but definitely come hang out with us. And then also next week, we have State of Angular, of course, with our beloved Angular team. That is going to be really awesome because we basically have updates from everybody. So NX will be there, NGRX will be there, RxJS will be there, and they'll all be giving updates on their libraries. And of course, Angular, everyone's excited about the most recent release of Angular, or maybe you have feels that you can share. So it's a great way to have conversations with the community and the core team as well. So there'll definitely be a few core team members like Minko joining. And then the week after, oh my gosh, we just have a really busy December, is State of React. So State of React is going to be awesome as well. You'll have folks like Tanner who are joining, who does React Query. You'll have Mark Erickson from Redux, giving a quick update as well. You'll have Shande and some other folks from the React Working Group talking about what's happening with React 18 and everything. And also by December 14th, I don't know if you all know, but React Conf is happening December 8th, right, Brandon? December 8th, I think.
Oh, sure.
Well, anyways, it's happening, I think, next week, which you can actually also sign up for. So definitely check out React Conf and when it's happening, because it is a big event. There are going to be a lot of really big releases. Yeah, so check out State of React. It's going to be really interesting. And then, of course, every month we do the monthly Mentoring Women in Tech. So December 15th, come check it out. I know it's a little bit early for you PSD people, but, we'll move it next year and we'll start doing more friendly times for people in Pacific. So for those of you joining, definitely like you can log in and say hi on the chat. We'd love to know where you all are from, where you all are joining us from. And, it's nice to see some friendly faces. So, oops. Well, I mean, yeah, thank you for joining. But anyways, so let's go ahead and get to Brandon's talk. Brandon, I'm going to go ahead and add yourself to the stream. And oh my gosh, y'all, if you haven't heard of Blitz or are more curious about Blitz, this is like the best talk to attend.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brandon. I am the creator of Blitz, and I would love to give you kind of a quick overview of why I created it and why it's awesome, why you might want to consider it for your next project. So let's get started. For most of the past 4 years, I was like this guy, happily building full stack React apps. I was fully content to put up with the complexity and struggle required to do so. And I did that because I loved building user interfaces with React more than any other way. But the honeymoon ended, and I became increasingly frustrated with all the configuration it required just to get to ground zero. There was so much boring work to do before I could start building features. Anything that got in the way of me building features slowly depleted my morale. I really wanted to love full stack development again. I wanted to be extremely productive again. I wanted to focus on building features instead of all the boring stuff that made me want to quit work early. And I decided enough was enough. And I set out to build the best possible developer experience for building full stack React apps. Now, there were two things that I had to have to achieve the developer experience that I was going for. Number one is I wanted it to be monolithic. And by monolithic, that means that conceptually, there's only one thing to think about as you think about your application. There's one thing to develop, one thing to deploy. And it could be deployed serverlessly, distributed, but conceptually, as you build it, it's all one thing. And it's much easier to be productive than like a whole bunch of scattered microservices, for example. At some point of scale, you have to have that. But for most apps, you can, monolithic is the best way to do, and always the best way to start. And then secondly is I wanted to get rid of the API layer because the API layer in React apps is the biggest source of complexity, confusion, headache, heartache, etc. And I wanted to get rid of it. And I got into web development through Ruby on Rails, so I knew what that experience was like. And with Rails, it's very simple because it's all server-side rendered. There's no API, there's no REST APIs, no GraphQL, none of that. So when I first announced Blitz early last year, so almost 2 years ago, I was like, okay, how do we get rid of the API? And the only way that I knew at the time was to do server-side rendering. And so my initial announcement and prototype was server-side rendering. That's how I got rid of the API. But I didn't love it. And so me and the early Blitz contributors were going back and forth discussing what would the architecture look like, what could it be. And one day I was laying in a hammock in Thailand pondering this, and I asked myself, what would this look like if it was easy? And suddenly I had this picture flood my imagination, and I could see myself writing a function that runs on the server. And in that function, I would talk to a database and do whatever I needed to on the server. And then I would just import that function directly up into my React component, and it would just magically work without any API calls, no REST, no GraphQL, nothing. And I was like, whoa, that is super cool. But is it possible? Can we make it work? And it turns out we made it work, and it is the flagship feature in Blitz.js, and one of the key reasons that people tell us it makes them 5 to 10 times more productive than any other stack. So before we go further, let's talk about some of the basics about what Blitz is, what's it look like, what's it feel like. So the first thing to know is that Blitz is built on top of Next.js. So Next.js is an awesome hybrid framework that lets you do client-side rendering, server-side rendering, and static page generation, all on a page-by-page basis. And then it also has API routes for doing back-end server code. And it's all together. It's really nice. You can deploy it to a server or to serverless without changing your code. And so we decided Next.js would be the perfect foundation for building this. But Next.js has a bunch of things that are missing for doing full stack. It's very minimal. And so Blitz adds everything that Next.js is missing. And technically, Blitz is a fork of Next.js that adds all of these power features. And we keep up to date with every Next.js release. So it's not like we're forked and going our own way, but we're keeping up to date with them. So what it feels like is it feels like Next.js with all these awesome power features on top. Secondly, we include Prisma by default. Now, Prisma is not required. Blitz is database agnostic, but we have Prisma by default as the ORM layer. And Prisma is really awesome. It works great for JavaScript and TypeScript, and it provides two kind of key things. It provides the database modeling and migrations. So you can define your database schema is what we're looking at here. And this really kind of nice to read and write format. And then Prisma will automatically generate the SQL queries to migrate your database and keep it in sync. And then secondly is Prisma provides this really nice database client to use inside your code for reading and writing from your database without using SQL queries. And this is all fully typed via TypeScript. And so if you're using TypeScript, you get autocomplete, type checking based on your database schema. It's really brilliant. Now there's a few key principles that we have with Blitz. Number one, full stack and monolithic, API not required. Convention over configuration means that things just work by default, that you don't have to configure things to get started. Loose opinions. So we have recommendations for how to do things, but for the most part, we don't require anything. There's very few things that we require. And so this allows you to still blaze your own trail if you want to. Easy to start, easy to scale. So we make it easy. We want it to be really easy for simple side projects, but also a really great foundation to build your next billion-dollar startup. Stability and community over code. We really care about the community. I'm very intentional about building a really friendly, welcoming community, and our community is awesome, and we'd love to have you join it. So when you start using Blitz, one of the first things you'll notice is all the boring stuff is completely done for you. So there's initial folder structure setup, linting, code formatting, Git hooks, testing, database, forms. And the big one is user sign up, login, and logout is completely set up for you out of the box. So you just run blitz new, generate a new app, and you can immediately sign up, log in, and you don't have to do any of that boring authentication stuff ever again if you use Blitz.js. So how does this work? We have this thing called the Zero API data layer where we abstract the API into a compile step. And what we do here is there actually is an API. So just like serverless still has a server, Zero API still has an API. But we just handle the API for you. We write the API, we fetch from it, etc. And so as a user, you're just writing plain functions and importing them wherever you want to use them, and then we will make that function call over the network essentially. And so that's what's called Blitz queries and mutations. So I'll do a really quick live demo here. I've generated a new app in my terminal, and it asked me some questions about what I want. And you can see it generated quite a lot of files. And this is because we're optimizing not just for a super simple, wow, there's only one file, but we're optimizing for, hey, I'm building a real app. I need to get some real work done. And so we have everything that you're going to need for your app. And so once you kind of go through and learn what this is, it's the same for every single new Blitz app, every other Blitz app that you go maybe pick up and work on. So it's a really nice convention. So we're just going to run Blitz Dev. This is a brand new app, and I'm going to
Oh no. Looks like Brandon left us.
oops.
You were going to load something.
I reloaded the wrong okay, just this. Okay, here's my screen.
All right, there we
go. So that's apparently I have an issue here because let's see, how do I clear this? Probably in cookies. Clear site data. Here we go. Let's try that. Because I have multiple different sites, and I think I had another site on this domain, and so here we go. All right. So this is a brand new app. I've just started it, so I can click sign up. I can put an email, password, and bam, I'm already logged in, just like that. It's very simple. I can log out, log in, and then if I want to go ahead and start building features, I can follow the steps here, and I'll kill the server. I will run this command to generate a project, and it automatically generates all the files that I need for creating, reading, updating, and deleting a project. It automatically adds it to my database, migrates my database, and now I can start the server again. And now I can go down to /projects. And as soon as that loads, now I can see my list of projects, but I don't have one. So we will create one. Create a project. Bam, there's my project. Go back to my list of projects, and there it is. And so all this basic boring code is already you can generate it for you, and now it's ready for you to go style and customize however you want. So cool. All right. So a few more things, and we'll be wrapping up here. We have a routes manifest that we add to Blitz. This is something Next.js doesn't have, and it allows you to, it's a fully typed thing for your routes. So instead of using string like /home, then you can use this routes object, and it allows you to, yes, fully typed. It prevents broken links, things like that. We have a feature called Blitz Recipes that makes it super easy to install third-party code, like one command to install Tailwind, Chakra, etc. You just write Blitz install, pass a recipe name, or if you just run Blitz install, we show you a list of available recipes. That's super awesome. We have a Blitz console, which is like the Rails console. It allows you to easily run commands inside the node REPL. So we automatically load your database and things. Can run one-off commands. We have a bunch of other features here for easy to add social login, database agnostic, custom server support. And we are nearing a release candidate stage. So we're getting very close to 1.0. 1.0 expected before the end of the year. That's probably slipping at this point. But we did just pass 10,000 stars on GitHub. We're over 2,300 members in our Discord, and just continuing to grow. People are really loving Blitz. And so we'd love to have you join as well. We have a bunch of people using Blitz like Agolia, some large universities, startups, agencies, and then also people for just side projects. So if you want to see what people are saying, you can go to this link, and there's a whole Twitter wall of things that people have said after using Blitz. And you can try Blitz very easily by installing the Blitz CLI and then run Blitz new and give it an app name, and you'll be off to the races. So Blitz is an open source project, and we would love your help in any way, issues, PRs, etc. Just writing blog posts, courses, etc. like that. Now, one last thing before I go is I want to mention my new project, flightcontrol.dev. And flight control is optimized hosting for Blitz and Next.js apps, and it runs on your own AWS account. So it gives you full control over your infrastructure and things, but also it's super easy to use. So instead of having a trade-off of like using Heroku or AWS, you sort of get the best of both worlds. So go to flightcontrol.dev and enter your email there if you're interested to keep up with that at all. All right, that's it. So to get started with Blitz, go to blitzjs.com. That's the place to see all the documentation, links to our Discord, GitHub, etc. There's our Twitter profiles. And then last but not least, if you want free stickers, go to blitzjs.com/stickers, and we will send you free stickers anywhere in the world. And yeah, thank you for listening. I would love to hear, what you think of Blitz after you try it out.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brandon. Brandon and I were actually just talking today, and he was sharing how easy it is to contribute to Blitz. So, if you're looking for that open source project and you're looking to just get involved, you can very easily go to GitHub and then click on projects and see what's in progress. You'll see things that are marked like, it's help needed or like ready. I think it's ready.
Ready to work on.
Ready to work on, yes. And, you could just start contributing, which is awesome. And I think another great thing is, I always like, whenever people mark good first issue, I'm like, okay, but what does good first issue actually mean, right? But Brandon was explaining that, like, if you look at good first issue in Blitz and you see, sometimes it's like one line changes. It's really easy. It's just like helping you get familiar with the code base. So if you want to make some meaningful contributions, check out the good first issues on Blitz, and you can get working on them. There's just so much, Brandon. I love what you're doing with Blitz. I love all the excitement around it, and I'm super excited about it too.
Thank you.
Yeah, and get your free stickers.
Yeah.
Do you send them out yourself?
No, I have someone from the community does it for me.
Okay, but still manual.
Yes.
Is it always manual? Is it always going to be manual? I wish it wasn't, but because I would love to send stickers to people, but I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. It sounds like a lot of work. Awesome. Well, thank you, Brandon.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really quickly as well. Go ahead and present this. Let's see. All right. There we go. All right. So today I'm going to talk about a fun topic, which is how to contribute to open source. This is a really fun topic for me and something I'm really passionate about because I, talk to so many people in the community and everybody's always looking. And, I collaborate with so many different open source projects, and there's like so many things you can do. In the new year, I'll be releasing something called How to Contribute to X, and, sitting down with like React, Angular, Vue, Node, Blitz, Redwood, like all of these really awesome projects. And you'll get a peek under the hood on obviously RxJS as well. But you'll get a peek under the hood of like how you can contribute to these projects and how things are structured. And hopefully, again, it inspires you all to get started. So contributing to open source is actually quite easy, again, just based on what me and Brandon talked about. It's very easy to get started in Blitz.js, and it's very easy to get started in a lot of different projects. So here's going to be a little quick start guide on how to do so. For those of you who don't know, my name's Tracy. You can follow me on Twitter @LadyLeet. I'm the CEO of a company called This.Labs. I'm on the RxJS core team at GDE. I just became a GitHub star, which is so exciting. I'm so excited about it. I still don't know what it all means, but I'm really excited. And, I just love doing things for the community. So really excited to be back in the Bay Area, at least virtually, doing this meetup. And I hope to see you all very soon. Also, we love to work with really amazing clients. So if you haven't if you need help with stuff, let us know. We just got finished working on the Facebook React documentation. So for those of you who haven't checked out ReactConf, which is happening, I think, next week, definitely check that out. And, we're just working on some really fun things. And we're also hiring. So if you love JavaScript generally, definitely reach out. I love talking to new developers. This is how I make friends, seriously. So come be my friend. Come chat. So let's get started. Today I'm going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about a few stories of people you probably know and look up to, and how they got started. Then we'll talk about your why and your how, and then also some do's and don'ts to think about when you get involved in communities. So let's go ahead and start off with stories. Sarah Drasner, who actually coincidentally just joined Google, she's amazing. I think a lot of us know her for the code pens and things like that. But I was like, how did you get started? And she said, hey, I made like 100 private repos that sucked and I was scared to make public. I'm sure they didn't actually suck. But then she said she made a bunch of code pens that didn't seem scary. She talked to jQuery about SVG stuff. And then she was like, man, I'm going to stop waiting for other people and I'm just going to do it myself. And, she did that 1,000 and a million times. And then she was successful. So a lot of it is just getting started and being okay with putting yourself out there and it being successful or not, and then moving on and trying again. But I think we all look up to Sarah. So, and if you don't know who Sarah is, definitely look her up on Twitter. Kent C. Dodds, a great person within our community. He said, I didn't start in the world of open source as a maintainer for projects. He had his very full pull request. It was a Java framework. He fixed a typo and added an extra line to the file. I was talking to Brandon earlier today, and he's like, yeah, I don't submit like unmeaningful PRs to the Blitz.js repo. I was like, well, I'm looking at your documentation right now, and this T needs to be capitalized. Can I capitalize that? And he's like, oh yeah, you can definitely do that, right? So, you don't have to do some crazy thing when it comes to documentation or like, submitting a crazy PR to like be useful, right? I mean, all of these things are so useful. But that's how Ken got started. And then he like spent tons of hours writing JavaScript and doing open source. And then, he became the Kent C. Dodds we know today, who's now at Remix Run, which, if you haven't checked out Remix, definitely check it out. Yes, Sharath, we do love Kent. Okay, so then Sean Day. Sean Day is amazing as well. If you're not following her on Twitter, it's just at Sean Day, which is her first name. But she actually got involved through React Robins, which used to be React Ladies, if you all aren't familiar. And now she's on the React 18 working group. And she's an amazing voice within our community and closely collaborating with the React core team now. But this is what I love about what she says. And again, this is something that Brandon was sharing with me as well today about Blitz and, how he recruits from the community. But open source is one of the best ways to learn how to collaborate on an engineering team, conduct code reviews, and learn new coding techniques. So if you're wanting to get out there, it doesn't matter what your age is. It doesn't matter your level of experience. If you want to be on a real engineering team, just join an open source project, right? Code reviews also, right? Very much encouraged because you don't have to be an expert to do code reviews. It's always appreciated, especially if you're lurking, like just, comment. It's not going to hurt anything. So yeah, definitely do that. I mean, I think on Blitz as well, like Brandon was saying, there's a 14-year-old who is helping contribute to the translation and like doing all the build stuff underneath. And then there's somebody who's like, I don't know, in school, I think, in college maybe. And they are, they're helping on an ongoing basis. So it's a really, really great way, again, to get that real world experience. Or if you feel like, hey, I want to make that transition over to JavaScript, what better way to just start in open source? And you'll probably get recruited. Jason Langsdorff, another amazing creator within our community, he did the same thing. He started building his own projects in open source repos. Then he started getting more experienced, and then he started on the docs. And then all of a sudden he started getting more confidence, and then he started making actual code changes. So again, you don't have to start from anything crazy. Usually just like small little things are really helpful. And then all of a sudden, he's like the Jason we know today with Gatsby and Netlify and, Learn with Jason. So my journey was also kind of, I don't know. I want to share my journey because I think everybody again looks at journeys into open source. And, I know we all look up to a ton of amazing people, but it's not that difficult, right? When I was starting a few years ago, I joined a boot camp. I was excited. I met the JavaScript community. That was the first thing I did. And then, a few years later, I'm on the ArcsJS core team, GDE, Microsoft MVP, GitHub Star, etc. But I just started talking to the community. So if you're not on Twitter, my Twitter handle is right here at Lady Elite. Come hang out, come talk to people. I found out who was talking at interesting conferences I was excited about. I got to know the community. And then, because I was in a learning phase, I was sharing and educating my experiences. Everything I did, every new technology I tried, even if it was just getting started, right? Like I shared it, I blogged about it. And, I helped where I could online, right? So this helped the community know that I was interested in relevant topics and I was able to give back in my own way, again, even as a beginner, right? So that's really important as well. And I think meeting maintainers is the third thing that I did. So, meeting people so they get to know you, right? So I met open source maintainers. I developed relationships. You can do this online at meetups, at conferences. I see Jen there. Jen said, oh, she got her Blitz stickers. That's really cool. Bilal's right there, Yana, Shiraz. So all these people, now I feel like, I kind of know you, and I'm more likely to probably just chat with you generally on the internet. So, and then the last thing is just contributing, right? Like I was contributing in ways I could, but my friends were on the ArcsJS core team and they needed help and I saw it. And I said, oh man, this was when ArcsJS was going from 4 to 5 and was there documentation? I don't even remember. I don't even think there was. I don't know. But anyways, it was a mess. And I knew that I could help in that way, help form a community team to help with the documentation. So that's what I did. And it was easy. It was quick. I guess it took time, but shortly thereafter, because I was spending a little bit of time on it, I became a part of the ArcsJS core team. So yeah, again, it's a great way. And again, bringing up Brandon, if you look at his how to contribute, there's actually different levels. There's like level 1 maintainers, level 2 maintainers, then there's a core team, and then there's like descriptions of what a level 1, level 2, and a core team member does. But it's a great way to get involved. Redwood.js as well, kind of has a very similar path. I don't know if they have like as well-defined teams generally, but there's just so many ways you can get involved and help. So hopefully those stories inspired you a little bit. But I want to talk about your why now, right? So, you might say, hey, I want to get involved in open source. And like, what's the actual reason? So there's two kind of main goals I like to talk about, which are functional and aspirational. Functional might be, hey, I'm working on something at work. I'm working on React and like, man, it's not working for me. I need to fix something. So you just like need to get to know the people because you need something to work, right? And obviously being aspirational, like there is great ways to get involved in open source generally to build a career. So that would be an aspirational approach. So I think if we look at functional, right, like, we all want everything to work and we all wish everybody would respond to us when we're like, man, this thing is broken. How can I do this? This is crap software. Gosh darn it, open source. Why aren't you working, right? So the first thing you should do is think about giving before you ask. So if you're working on React and something's, you might need to talk to somebody because something's broken, right? Like your life is going to be so much easier if you already are a contributor in that community and you've already talked to somebody and you've already given back because they're more likely to talk to you. The second thing you want to do is always make sure to submit an issue first and ask for feedback. Like we all want things to change. Like I wish everything was written in TypeScript. But I can't like go around changing like all the open source projects I want to be in TypeScript. but like submit an issue first, right? Or if you can submit an RFC, do that as well, right? Like find somebody to champion your issue. Maintainers are really busy, and you know, you can submit an issue and you can ask for help, but if you do step number 1, which is giving before you ask first, then it's going to be much easier for you, right? The third thing is find maintainers in other forums and chat with them. So build relationships with people. GitHub notifications are super noisy. Issues are super noisy. I know, like, I filter all my GitHub notifications because I just can't. Like, it's just too much. I follow too many projects. But if you send somebody a nice message, then you're probably going to get a response. I'll give you a great example. Like, there was somebody that was working on RxJS, and we just released RxJS 7, and we're kind of going towards RxJS 8 now. Well, 7 point wherever we are right now. But like, our community was like, oh man, here's some docs changes because RxJS 7 needs to be updated, or the docs need to be updated to our current version, but they were having difficulty getting somebody to respond to them. So, they just sent me a little message on Twitter, and they were like, hey, Tracy, like, I'm trying to get these issues merged, or these PRs merged. Like, can you help me? And, I had some time. So I was like, oh yeah, let me look at it. And I looked at the issues. There were some changes that were being requested. Jan Nicholas was looking at something. Ben was looking at something. And, they just needed another ping, right? So it's really valuable to like build relationships in other areas because people are busy, but like, they're also probably not paying attention to like GitHub issues as much. It depends on the project, right? But that's, a lot of times how it is. And then the last tip is just making sure you're building genuine relationships, right? Like, you don't want to be like, if somebody came and chatted with me and they were like, hey, and I knew that they were kind of just talking to me because they wanted to like get something out of me, I wouldn't be as excited. But, if you approach things from a genuine perspective, then, everybody's willing to help. That's what open source is all about. So make sure you're building genuine relationships along the way. I love Ken Wheeler. If you all know Ken Wheeler, he was so funny because I asked him how he got involved in open source, and he said he built this library, Slick Carousel, internally. It helped him reduce duplication efforts. And then he was like, this is going to be useful. And then he pushed it up, posted to Hacker News, and then the rest is history. He became the Ken Wheeler we know today. So a great way of thinking about how to incorporate kind of like your work into open source. Obviously, you don't want to do this if like your work wouldn't allow it, but great way, again, to kind of like, merge your, I guess, aspiring career with your current career. Aspirational. I love this because I think that you get so much more freedom here, right? Like, we're drawn to different people, right? What they say, birds of a feather flock together. So when you are aspirational and you just kind of want to build a career in open source, you can do whatever you want. You are not tied down by what you're using, at work. You can just, contribute to whatever project. So it's very flexible. And I think the first thing you should do is look at the different projects that you might be interested in, right? Like, for example, if you're in the React community, you might be like, oh man, I really want to contribute to React. But like, maybe that's a little bit too aspirational. Maybe like there's not enough space in there, but you're definitely using other things in React, right? Like, maybe you're using Material UI, maybe you're using like React Query, maybe you're using Redux, right? These are a little bit smaller and like kind of easier to contribute to potentially. So you don't have to necessarily work on like the core project. But another thing is every single project within React has a different type of community, right? So there's different types of people. And I think that's what you need to look at. You need to look at like, can I be successful? Do I even like these people? You can look at the PRs, the RFCs, the responses and the issues. Can you see yourself working with these people? And if it's a no, then you can go find something else. There's so many teams, so many different cultures out there. You will definitely find your fit. The other thing is making sure you're solving problems maintainers want. We all think that, you know, we know best when it comes to solving problems. But the core team also has ideas, and you should work on the things that they care about being solved first, right? There's plenty of issues typically marked as good first issue or looking for help. So just make sure before you start working on something as well to just comment or ask if anyone's actually working on the issue, and once you hear back, you can go ahead and start contributing. Depending on the repo you're looking at, some repos might have people assigned, but maybe that issue has gone stale, and even if that person was assigned, maybe they haven't worked on it in 6 months, right? So it's good to comment and say, hey, are you still working on this, or can I work on it now, right? Some repos kind of keep a little bit more up to date in those types of things. So again, it just depends on what community you're joining and how up to date they are on things. Helping with the docs. This is so underrated. I shared with you all, some things like Jason, for example, helping with docs. I mean, Kent Dodds helping with docs, right? So this is a very easy path. And let me tell you, everybody wants help with the docs. You're using the docs, there's fixes. I was going through the no documentation the other day. I was like, oh man, there's duplication here, duplication there. These two things are contradicting each other. Oh, I wish I had time to contribute, but opening up simple little PRs to help with those types of things or little typos, people are really value that. One thing my friend Ben says is, he says, think about all the things you don't like to do at work, and then do those for open source projects because you will be valued and appreciated. So documentation is one of them. If you don't love documentation, he's making an assumption that people don't. And then the second thing is code reviews, right? If you're looking at things, again, could always use an extra set of eyes. So feel free to comment and do code reviews for people. And then the last thing, especially from an aspirational perspective, is making sure you're educating and sharing your experience. Write blog posts about your experience, write about what you love, write about how to use certain features, what's upcoming, right? How you solve something, even going to different talks. Again, React Conf is coming, right? So there's going to be a lot of React 18, X, Y, and Z, or what's coming for X or whatever. And people need to be told those things. So sharing that with the community and summarizing those things in blog posts. You don't have to contribute directly to a project repo to be successful and relevant within a community, right? So make sure you're doing that, right? If you look at some of the people within the React community, like Kent Dodds, for example, Jason Langsdorff, right? Why do we know them? Why are they so valuable to us? Why do we look up to them? It's because of the education aspect of how they're contributing to open source, and how valuable they are in that sense. Brandon, who we just saw, he said, beyond some trivial fixes, I really first got involved in OSS by some contributions to Hyperterminal. And then, he made some flyby bug fix contributions, whatever. And then he had zero maintainer experience, and then he decided to start Blitz. So that's amazing, right? Again, just do, and then things will happen. And then you get to do amazing things. There's definitely some do's and don'ts that I want to cover as well. I think for the do's, just make sure to have compassion, make sure to treat maintainers like people, make sure to be professional, right? You're not working with these people at work, but you should treat it like a workplace because nobody likes to be disrespected. Assume the best of intentions. If you go into a project and you're like, why is this not written in TypeScript? That's me all the time. Just kidding, but maybe not really. But just assume that people have the best of intentions. I mean, I think we can all go back and look at our code that we wrote, a month ago, 2 months ago, and be like, ew, who wrote this? And then you realize that it was you, right? So things improve over time. Code bases are code bases, but if you go in and insult the code that was written for a project, nobody's going to give you the time of day. It's just not going to happen, right? Also, most projects have a code of conduct or abide by one. So make sure you're treating people the way you would like to be treated, and make sure you're abiding by a good code of conduct generally. For don'ts, definitely don't act or be entitled. Like, be patient, be nice. Don't think your maintainer's biggest priority. Like, a lot of people have full-time jobs, and then a full-time job in open source, and then have kids, and then like all these things. So, just because somebody's not responding to you doesn't mean that they don't care. Maybe they just didn't see the message, or maybe they're juggling a million things. So I guess that leads to don't be annoying. Definitely follow up, but don't follow up 10 times a day and like be mean about it, right? Like, don't be annoying, but follow up within reason though. And then also don't complain. Like, everyone's trying their best. And, a lot of times we can look at projects and be like, ew, why did they make that technical decision? But, they probably made it because of good reasons. And maybe if you were there, maybe you would have made the same decision, maybe not. But, you never know, right? Also, you're getting stuff for free. Open source is for free, right? So it's not the nicest way to approach something you're getting for free. Hopefully this helped a little bit today. Again, I'm so excited to be doing React World Tour and doing another modern web in the Bay Area. And we're always hiring, so you can always, again, email me, Tracy at this dot, and I'm always happy to chat. We are 100% fully remote and worldwide. Team of about 50 developers, and it's a fun place to work. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for attending Modern Web Bay Area. Again, I'm so excited that we're doing this. I hope to see you all in the new year, like at Google offices. If I had to guess, I probably think it's not going to be before June. And it's nice to see some other folks from, Vancouver and Austin and some other places, like hanging out and chatting. And again, come hang out on Twitter. We're always hanging out and trying to meet new people. So we're excited. And thanks again for attending, and we'll see you soon.